narrative writing, stage 2, start on page 142. Let's review all the parts of each one of these staged lessons. First, you'll start off on page 142 here with a chant. Then on page 143 are your at-a-glance steps that you will have as the teacher so that you have them all on one page. On page 144 are the descriptors so that you know exactly what your students will be learning so that you know exactly, hold on. On page 144, 145 will be the descriptors. So you'll know exactly the skills your students will be learning at this level under content and organization, sentences, and mechanics. Also, a visual of the direct instruction steps, the chart that you can make. On page 145 is a visual of the kinder planner and writing. And right next to it is the first grade planner, what their organizer would look like, and writing. Now let's do a sample lesson so that you can understand and learn how to follow these steps to write a narrative at stage 2. All the students will need to have a blank piece of paper, and at this stage you will need to take their papers and fold them on the top. So there's a box about this wide, doesn't have to be an exact measurement, but we need to have that fold that you would do before you pass it out to the students to make this lesson much easier to follow. So we have our folded sheet of paper, pass it out to each student, and now we're going to follow the steps of how this would be filled in for their narrative stage 2 organizer. Let's go to page 142 so that we can actually go through this lesson. Page 142 has our chant on it. So I'm going to say to the boys and girls, we're going to learn a narrative story. Remember, the chant will give them the parts of a story. Let's put our hands together. Story opening, then actions, 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 till the story's done. So now, what are the parts of the story? A story opening, then actions, 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 till the story's done. So those are our motions, and that's our chant for them to learn the parts of a story. So there's basically our 3 parts: the story opening, actions, which we don't really know how many actions until the story's done. So we say story opening, actions, 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 till the story's done. On page 144, I'm going to go back up to my wall chart where it's color-coded, and I'm going to say to the boys and girls, notice our chart. See the green section? The green section is for the story opening. The yellow section are the steps that we learn for the actions, actions, actions. And the blue section, that's the steps for the story is done. Now let's go back and review. Green steps, what are those for? Story opening. Hey, turn to your buddy and tell them, I already know the steps because that's from stage 1. So they already know these, which makes this so fantastic because you're just building on what they've learned in the previous stage. So green section, what is it, boys and girls? Story opening. What's the yellow? Actions, actions, actions. What's the blue? The story is done. Now we'll go back and learn all the parts of how to write a story. Let's follow the steps. I'm back on page 143 of stage 2 narrative writing. On the left side of the page, I have my blank sheet of paper. So you should grab your long legal size piece of paper that you have folded in order to follow these steps. And then on the right side are the at-a-glance steps to write a narrative. Notice on the top it says imaginative or personal narrative. These steps work for either one. Now we're going to go through and we're going to follow the steps. So up at the top we have story opening. Let's follow these steps for our story opening. Step 1, get organized. This is why the fold is so important. I show the children, boys and girls, do you see the fold? Make your finger go across there. Always have them make their finger go across because some children may not even know what the word fold means. Make your finger go across there, check and see they understand that. Now take your pencil and draw a line across that fold. So you're drawing a line across the fold. Go to the top of your sheet and put your finger at the top in the middle. So then you check to make sure the students have their finger in the middle, and then we're going to draw a line and stop at the fold. So we're drawing a line, stopping at the fold, and we have 2 boxes. There's our story opening boxes. That was easy. Turn to your buddy and say that was easy. That was easy. We have our steps. Step 1, we have done. Get organized. Now let's go to step 2. Character. Who's in our story? A person or an animal, or I am. So maybe we decide we're going to write about a person, a boy. So now let's draw our picture of a boy. So who's in our story? A boy. And now we have our boy. And does this have to be an art project? No, that would be embarrassing. And that's what I do with the kids. I tell them, how embarrassing. We're not drawing right now. This isn't an art project. This is writing. Writers always make just a fast sketch. So I have my little boy here. So we'll say, the boy. So let's put a finger up for boy. Ready, everyone? Go. The boy. We have who's in our story. Go to step 3, setting. When and where does the story take place? We're going to have the students talk to each other. You'll pick an equity stick. That child then would share out when the story is going to happen. We're all writing the same story together, but down the road when they know these steps to write their own story. All right, so now we have when is the story happening? Children were talking to each other. I picked a stick and they decided it was going to be a windy day. It's a windy day and there's this boy in the story. Where is the boy? Let's say he's down at the park. So now let's just make a swing set there so we can remember that. We have our character and our setting. Now let's go to our action. Everyone, action! What is the boy doing on a windy day down at the park? Turn to your buddy and tell them. They have to decide on what the boy's going to do. If the students have trouble with coming up with an idea, what do? We say, let's make it interesting. And we choose one of our emotion cards. Let's say we picked a card, so I'm just going to pick any card here because the steps I'm following, I have no idea what my story is going to be. I'm just going to follow the steps and it makes a story. It's a windy day. The boy's at the park. Uh-oh. And he's scared. Something scared him. Turn to your buddy. What's happening that scared him? So we picked a card that showed our boy was scared. So now let's make sure we have our mouth like open where he looks like he's scared, maybe some eyebrows, so he looks terrified. The children talk to each other and they come up with an idea, and maybe one of the kids say, ooh, he saw a snake. He saw a snake in the grass. So let's draw our snake really quickly. That's what scared him. In the grass. We're only drawing a picture of the idea. I'm not trying to have the students form a sentence and draw the picture. The picture helps them come up with the idea. After the picture is there, then we go back and plan the sentence. When you try to come up with an idea and a sentence and form a sentence at the same time, it paralyzes children. Let's separate that. Let's have the ideas first, then form the sentence. We have the idea of the snake in the grass. He's scared. Now let's come up with a sentence. So who are we talking about? The boy. What happened? The boy screamed when he saw a snake in the grass. Ooh, there we go. Now we know that's who's doing the action, the boy. What did he do? Screamed. Why? Because he saw a snake in the grass. Let's say the whole sentence and act it out. The boy screamed when he saw a snake in the grass. Say it again. The boy screamed when he saw a snake in the grass. If the students have control over that sentence, then you're going to want to add some fancy words. So let's go over here. What is important in this sentence? Is the boy important? Yes, the boy is important. So let's put an X on the boy. What about the grass? Do I need to describe that? No. What about the snake? Yes, the snake's important. So let's go back and decide how we're going to describe the boy. Are we going to describe what he looks like? Or are we going to describe his personality or how he feels? Probably how he feels. How does he feel? Frightened. Ooh, let's write frightened here. So now we have the frightened boy screamed when he saw a snake in the grass. We could describe the snake. Let's go ahead and ask, what kind of snake would a frightened boy see in the grass? So again, do you see we're always keeping the context of the sentence when deciding on describing words. Are we going to say what he looks like? Long, green, spotted? Are we going to say his personality? Vicious? What kind of snake would he be if the boy screamed at him? Ooh, maybe long. He's really long. I mean, if it was a short, tiny snake, it wouldn't matter as much. So let's say long. Now let's go back and say the sentence. The frightened boy screamed when he saw a long snake in the grass. Once we have our sentence where the kids have control over it, then we'll go back and add our capitalization. We write the first word out, underline the first capital letter, and put a period at the end. When children are first learning at this stage, what will happen is I just have them go and write out this first sentence. And what we do is we plan a sentence, we write a sentence. We plan a sentence, we write a sentence. I'm going to finish the whole organizer with you, but eventually, once they get pretty good at all these steps, they just plan the whole organizer, orally rehearse it, and then write out their whole paragraph story. But at this point, I just want to alert you that when you're first teaching this with youngsters, you may want to go one sentence at a time. Plan, write, plan, write. We have our story opening. Now where are we? We're heading into our actions, actions, actions. Now let's go to our actions. And notice we have our action steps here. Step 1, actions box. We need to draw an action box. So we're just going to draw a line across like that. Step 2, we're going to say our sequencing step. This is critical for students to understand this. You're going to put your hands on your shoulder and you're going to go like this. What happened next? Look at this prompt. What happened next? Now you're going to see the word after or while. That's important for you to notice because when you have a sequence in a story, what happens is characters are either going to have an action that they're doing, like maybe they're running down the street, and then while they're running, so the word while, a new action occurs. Maybe they fall down. Or they're running down the street and they stop, and then they go in their house. So after they run, they have a new action. While and after are your sequencing words that kids need to use. So what we do is we figure which one would be the best one. Well, he's looking at the snake, and it's not after he looks at the snake, it's while he's looking at the snake, something's going to happen next. So we'll go, what happened next? While, and then the rest of that prompt is the character or you. So now you're going to say the boy, because that's who we're talking about. What happened next while the boy saw the snake or was screaming at the snake? So we're always going to include that previous action. So let's do the whole thing together now. Ready? What happened next while the boy was screaming at the snake? So now we have to decide what's going to happen next. First of all, we have two characters in our story. Who's going to do the action? Do we want the snake to do an action or do we want the boy to do an action? Let's have the snake do an action. What would the snake do if the boy screamed at him? And kids then talk to each other and come up with an idea. So maybe he hissed and he rattled his tail. He got upset and hissed and rattled his tail. So the kids are talking, telling me this. What do? It's the idea. We're only drawing down the idea. So in this box in the middle, we draw the action idea. So let me put the snake like this, like he's really angry. And we're going to have him hiss and rattle that tail. So now we'll rattle the tail. So we're just drawing a quick picture.